Let's get you the latest on the deadly coronavirus outbreak as part of WION's continuous coverage. Overnight, there has been a massive spike in the death toll. 425 people have now lost their lives due to the virus, and more than 20,000 people have been infected. 64 new deaths were reported in China, and all the casualties were in Hubei province. People are now asking whether China is downplaying the actual intensity of the outbreak. Independent reports claim that actual number of infected may be as high as 70,000 in the city of Wuhan. Meanwhile, Hong Kong and Philippines are the two areas where deaths have been reported outside mainland China. In fact, Hong Kong reported its first death outside mainland China. And joining us live now from Hong Kong is WION correspondent Grace Lee. Grace, welcome to WION. First death in Hong Kong. It's a massive concern for the administration. What can you tell us the details about the victim?
Yeah, the victim was a 39-year-old man who recently traveled to Wuhan for a business trip. He was there at the end of January. When he came back to Hong Kong, he started reporting that he had aches in his muscles. After that, he reported that he was getting intensely ill, and he was pronounced dead today. Now, the concerning thing is that his mother is also confirmed as a coronavirus patient. She had not traveled to Wuhan. She simply contracted it by being close to him, and that's spreading fear here in Hong Kong about how this virus can spread human to human in terms of its transmission. And of course, that's firing up calls for the government to do more. You know that Hong Kong has been through a series of protests. Now the protests are taking the form of strikes by medical workers who say Hong Kong's government simply isn't doing enough to shut out this virus. They want the border to China to be sealed off completely. So today is the second day of this strike, and things are only going to intensify as we see more cases here in Hong Kong and, of course, that first death.
Grace, it's very essential what you mentioned there. Hong Kong health workers have actually gone on strike asking the administration to close all borders with mainland China. Why hasn't the administration done so? What is the reasoning? And how many suspected coronavirus cases are there in Hong Kong at the moment?
Well, so far, there were 15 confirmed cases. Now there's that one death. Overall, the government says about 80 people here are under quarantine. But really, there aren't a lot of measures to check if any Hong Kong residents had recently been to Wuhan. They're expected to self-report and self-quarantine if that has happened. And that is what's causing a lot of anger here. The reason why the Hong Kong government hasn't shut down its borders completely, a couple of its borders have been shut down. Two still remain open. And of course, that's what's fanning the flames here. The reason they haven't done that is because Hong Kong's leader, Carrie Lam, has said that is a discriminatory practice. She says it would only kind of fuel racism here towards the mainland Chinese. A lot of other countries have said similar things because the WHO also has said that they don't recommend closing down borders completely. They think that'll only encourage people to travel illegally and spread the virus without going through the proper channels. They also think it'll cut off aid to mainland China when they need it the most. So there is kind of this mixed reaction to shutting down borders, which, you know, a lot of countries have done already.
Grace, I'd like to thank you for joining us on WION. Certainly a big scare as Hong Kong has reported its first death, first fatality due to coronavirus, and the number of fatalities and those infected has spiked overnight. Meanwhile, Hong Kong and Philippines have reported one casualty each due to the coronavirus outbreak. In Hong Kong, a 39-year-old man, like Grace was just telling us, who had traveled to Wuhan, passed away earlier today. He visited China on January 21st and returned just 2 days later. And then on the 31st of January, he was admitted to a hospital. So he was admitted to a hospital few days after he had returned from mainland China. He had traveled to Wuhan on the 21st and he was admitted to hospital on the 31st of January. Health officials are saying that he had a pre-existing health condition that aggravated the impact of the virus. Hong Kong has confirmed 14 cases of coronavirus so far. In Philippines earlier, a 44-year-old man had passed away after contracting the virus. He had traveled from Wuhan to mainland China via Hong Kong. Officials believe that he was already infected upon his arrival in Manila. The interesting thing to note here is that the patient was initially stable and was showing signs of improvement, but his condition suddenly deteriorated over a 24-hour period, ultimately leading to his death on the 31st of January. He was accompanied by a Chinese woman who has also tested positive for the virus.